Okay, allow me to start this video off by telling you that I am not a sushi chef, to avoid some harsh comments. I am, however, a professional chef, but I have a background in Italian and French cuisine. But Japanese cuisine is sitting right at the top of my list as some of the best food on earth. And so I love to dabble and try to cook it myself at home, and that's what I'm gonna do today. So I have this piece of Japanese A5 Wagyu. And so with this, I'm gonna make some nigiris with the help of some other chefs. Now let's go! So obviously you're gonna need short grain rice, that's sushi rice. So in the past, I have not had good luck making my sushi rice, but on doing the research from this video, I found a chef from Outdoor Chef Life, Taku, and so I'm gonna be using his recipe for the sushi rice. The only thing I don't have is his special vinegar, but we're gonna work around it. I'll put a link to his channel down in the description. He does a lot of amazing outdoor cooking, super cool channel, definitely go subscribe. Okay, so as Taku says, we're gonna start with 400 grams sushi rice. And now 360 grams water. At this point, Taku says to add a little piece of kombu to flavor that water, but I don't have it. So now Taku had a bowl with a strainer, add in your sushi rice, and then we're gonna begin the tedious rinsing process. So what's really important here is that you don't break this rice, meaning split those grains. So a gentle mix with your fingertips like this can work quite well. Just keep discarding that water and repeating this process. We also want to make sure the rice doesn't sit in this water too long, so when it begins to fill up, drain again, just keep repeating that process. And he says he does this 6 or 7 times. I'm just gonna do it until that water is basically completely clear. Right, I've repeated that process about 10 times now, and as you can see, that water is basically completely clear, and that's what we want. And so now what he does is dump that rice into the bowl underneath, and this time just fill with water again and gently mix, and leave it in that water for 5 seconds, and then discard. And repeat that process 6 or 7 times again. This step is gonna help to remove any broken grains, as well as any more impurities. When you're done with that, back into the strainer and just set the strainer over the bowl. Now the next step is simple. Just leave this in the strainer to dry for 10 minutes. And you're gonna see it whiten up a lot when that happens. Looking at the rice now, you can see how white it is. The next step is gonna be to get the heaviest pot you have available. Rice goes in, your measured water goes on the rice, and then shake it to level it off, Taku says. Now, as you can see, this water is just barely covering that rice. So now we let it sit in the water for 10 minutes. My friend, if you are new here, my name is Sunny Harrell. I've been a professional chef for 17 years. I've worked in a dozen professional kitchens all around the world. And what I love to do most is teach people how to cook. So if you really want to learn something, then definitely subscribe, turn on notifications, do all that fun stuff. And now back to the video. So, after 10 minutes, now we're finally ready to cook this rice. And one thing I noticed, I was reading through the comment section of Taku's video, and a lot of people were saying their rice burned, meaning the water evaporated too fast. And I saw in his video, he clamped a few pieces of tin foil around the lid to give it an extra tight seal. So with less water evaporating, hopefully our rice will not burn. And so I'm just gonna take a couple little pieces of foil, just make it into a little package, doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm just gonna choose a couple sections and just clamp that foil around. And hopefully, this will help with that problem. Now this recipe is a lot of work, but just one thing to remember, it's all in 10-minute timers, meaning we dry the rice for 10 minutes, we soak the rice for 10 minutes. Now we're gonna turn the heat up to high. Once it begins to come to a boil, we're gonna start a 10-minute timer. So then it'll be high heat for 10 minutes. When that timer goes off, we're gonna drop the heat all the way down, low heat for 10 minutes. And when that timer goes off, we're gonna set another one with no heat. It's gonna rest in there for 10 minutes again. So this is a 30-minute process. Okay, turning to high, let's go. So this tinfoil trick actually worked really well. I would definitely recommend doing it. Okay, there's our first 10-minute timer, which means we're gonna kick the heat all the way down to low now and start yet another 10-minute timer. Okay, there is our second 10-minute timer going off, so let's kill the heat. Now I'm gonna move this off the stove because that metal is still holding a lot of heat, and set your final 10-minute timer. Now while your rice cooks, go in with a 1/3 cup unseasoned rice vinegar, plus another 1.5 tablespoons, 2 tablespoons sugar. Turn that on and bring to a boil. When all that sugar and salt is dissolved, kill the heat. And there's our final 10-minute timer, which means get the foil off, take off that lid. Woo, looking good. Now, while I don't have the proper sushi bowl, I do have this giant wooden bowl, which will work. So now Taku says if we put the rice straight in here, it's gonna stick. We combat that by adding some water. and then just using a little kitchen towel or paper towel to let that water just rub in everywhere. And so the wood is gonna begin to absorb it. So work all that water in until it's really absorbed. Also make sure to water the wooden paddle you'll be using. Not exactly traditional, but the best thing I got. Add your rice and your vinegar, but try to disperse it evenly. Now, we wanna gently begin to break up this rice. All we're really trying to do here is declump it. Like these type of clumps right here, we can just break into that a little bit and separate it into the grains. Once all the vinegar is incorporated, we're gonna kind of spread it out a little bit and let it sit for about 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, Taco says to flip it all over. And this helps the vinegar disperse amongst the rice better. Okay, and that is done and ready for some Wagyu. Now I'm just gonna cover mine with a damp cloth. Okay, let's prepare the Wagyu. First things first, I'm gonna go straight in half. So this Wagyu is just a few days old, but it's starting to discolor. But what am I gonna do? Like throw it away? Are you kidding me? So I'm gonna do my sushi best to make some nice slices to fit a nigiri. That is what I'm talking about. Now I've just covered in plastic so it's actually touching the meat, and we'll hold them like this. So I just got my rice formed into that nigiri shape. We'll just lay our Wagyu over. And now after all that work, time for the fun part, blow torching. Maybe just about 30 seconds each piece, and then move on. Now I'm finishing with just a touch of sesame oil, a little bit of flaky salt, and just a tiny little bit of wasabi. I quite like this Yamasa soy sauce. So we're gonna serve this up with a little bit of that. Okay, let's see how we did. Wow! Now I didn't have all the right ingredients. It's not real wasabi, but the rice is definitely the best I've made, and that is definitely the best sushi I've ever made. I mean, it's Wagyu A5, right? Really, really good bite. I love it. And now I'm gonna eat like 30 of these. Well, my friends, remember to like this video if you haven't done so already, because I need to be alone with this Wagyu for a little while. Until next time, you know I love you, and I'm out.